Welcome. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Russ French. I'm the president of the Uralla RSL sub-branch. Welcome to everyone. We're assembled here to commemorate those servicemen and women who served during the Korean conflict. I would especially like to welcome family members, relatives and friends of Private Alan Roy Joe Hutton, a Uralla son who proudly served his country and was killed in action on the 7th of October 1951 at the Battle of Mariangsan. The Korean War was a conflict between the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea, and the Republic of South Korea. 2.5 million persons lost their lives. The war reached international proportions on the 25th of June 1950, when North Korean forces, with arms supplied by the Soviet Union and China, invaded the South. The newly formed United Nations, with the United States as principal participant, joined with the South. After more than 1 million combat casualties had been suffered on both sides, the fighting ended on the 27th of July 1953, with Korea still divided into two hostile states. This continues to this day. Negotiations in 1954 produced no further agreement, and the front line has been accepted ever since as a de facto boundary between North and South Korea. Over 17,000 Australians served in Korea over the 3-year period, on the land, at sea, and in the air over the Korean Peninsula. Of those 17,000 Australians, 1,216 were wounded, 30 were taken as prisoners of war, and 340 were killed in action. The 27th of July is now commemorated as the day to remember all those that served in the Korean War and to remember all those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Today we remember especially those local men and women who served, most of which are no longer with us, but we remember them for their great sacrifice, lest we forget.
Thank you.
Can I invite Rose Ball to come up, please?
11373, Private Alan Roy Hutton, Life and Service History. Today we are here to commemorate all Australians who fought in the Korean War, but especially to remember the one local young soldier who never got to come home. That soldier was and will always be a part of our family, and we honour him today. Alan Roy Hutton, better known as Joe, was the third son of John and Ethel Hutton, born on the 12th of September 1928 in Uralla. Joe went to school at the Rocky River School and finished at the Rocky River Practice School in 1942. In about 1947, the family moved from their Rocky River farm to their home in Hill Street, Uralla. Joe spent some time living with his brother Morris and Morris's family in Wauchope, working at Hornsby Sawmill. In 1946, he was home for the holidays in Uralla, and in May 1947, he competed at the Wauchope Rifle Club on resumption of rifle shooting after the club had been closed during the war years. From all accounts, Joe was a very community-minded man. Family photos show both he and his brother Morris and others from the sawmill assisting in the Kempsey floods. Newspapers throughout Australia reported on the devastation of the floods that travelled at 20 kilometres per hour, which is just over 32 kilometres per hour, sweeping houses, furniture, stock through the streets and smashing practically every window shop in the town. At the same time, it was snowing here in Uralla. In December 1949, Joe relocated to Brisbane, and on the 21st of August 1950, he enlisted in the Australian Regular Army at the Northern Command Personnel Depot. Joe was posted to 1 Recruit Training Battalion on the 18th of September 1950 and 3 Recruit Training Battalion on 18 October 1950. On the 23rd of December 1950, Joe married his sweetheart Pamela Fletcher in Sydney and spent that Christmas in Uralla. The RSL president at the time, Laurie Maloney, gave the newlyweds his home in Hill Street for their honeymoon. Following recruit training, Joe was taken on strength to the 1st Royal Australian Regiment as a Special Forces reinforcement on the 2nd of March 1951. Joe returned to Uralla on his final couple of days in leave in July, and on the 13th of July 1951, Joe deployed to Japan, where he remained with the 1 RAR Reinforcement Holding Unit. Joe was taken on strength by 3 Royal Australian Regiment, 15th of July 1951, and on the 18th of August 1951 he deployed to Korea with 3 RAR. Arrangements for a service award for good service conduct were commenced on the 21st of August 1951. It is not known if this award was fulfilled before his death. Joe celebrated his 23rd birthday on the 12th of September 1951 in a combat zone. Also in September 1951, he wrote to his wife Pam and let her know that he had been to Korea for some time. Pam was pregnant with their child at that time. Some records show Joe was part of 7th Platoon Charlie Company, 3RAR, who alongside Bravo Company were in October 1951 tasked with taking Hill 355, known as Koan San or Little Gibraltar, Hill 317, known as Marianne San, and Hill 217. This action was part of Operation Commando and became known as the Battle of Marianne San. This battle was probably the greatest single feat of Australia in the Korean War and was the last battle under manoeuvre of the Korean War. The battle was significant in forcing Chinese forces back away from the Imjin River and providing UN forces the ability to position themselves before the ceasefire and armistice negotiations commenced. 3RAR was supported by 1 Battalion King's Own Scottish Borderers and 1st Battalion Royal Northumberland Fusiliers. With heavy support provided by the Royal New Zealand Artillery and Centurion tanks squadrons from the 8th Royal Irish Hussars. This battle took place over the 3rd to the 8th of October 1951. There was a larger one, but this is, Marianne Sang is the 3rd to the 8th, so we'll concentrate on that. And I'll concentrate on the day that Joe was killed in action, the 7th of October 1951. Bravo Company were tasked with securing a ridgeline called the Hinge. The Hinge was crucial to the success of the operation. Bravo Company had already attacked and secured Hill 317 Marianne San, a steep hill rise to 200 metres above the valley below, and were now tasked to continue on to take the Hinge. On the 7th of October 1951, at 0800 hours, Bravo Company began their assault on the Hinge with supporting artillery mortars, tank and machine gun fire. The enemy were well concealed and dug in, and a fierce battle ensued. At 0920 hours, Bravo Company had captured the Hinge and were then subjected to counterattacks of intense and accurate artillery and mortar fire for the rest of the day. The supply line was stretched thin. They had been fighting for 6 days, and platoons were down to 15 to 20 man strength, normally around 36 men in those days. Today it's around 90. During the capture of the Hinge, Bravo Company suffered 2 killed in action and 20 wounded. At 2000 or 8 p.m. on the evening of 7th of October 1951, after an eerie silence of half an hour, Bravo Company, who were now joined with elements of Charlie Company, were subjected to heavy shelling for 45 minutes. Heavy mist concealed the enemy advance and allowed them to penetrate the defence perimeter. The Australians were attacked on 3 occasions, from the front and flanks, by a battalion-strength enemy. The intensity of this fighting led to hand-to-hand close combat, and eventually a full divisional concentration of artillery was fired on the location in support of 3RAR. Bravo and Charlie Company were eventually successful at holding the ground, and the enemy withdrew from the final Hill 217 position to achieve mission success. The evening of 7th of October 1951 took a heavy toll, and Joe was killed instantaneously during the heavy shelling. He was one of 13 men who gave the ultimate sacrifice that night, and a further 32 wounded in action. Overall, Operation Commando took 20 soldiers' lives and 104 were wounded, with some succumbing to their injuries in the following days and weeks. Joe was buried alongside his mates on the 13th of October 1951 at the UN Military Cemetery, Kangok. He was later reinterred at the UN Cemetery in Busan. Joe's baby son, Alan Jr., was born roughly 3 weeks after his death. A memorial service was held at St John's Church of England in Uralla on the 14th of October 1951. Alan Jr. would later be baptised in the same church. On Anzac Day 1958, a plaque was unveiled on a granite memorial at the corner of Queen and King Streets under a special Canadian redwood brought to Uralla from Banff by Mr. Addie McLean, the first president of the Uralla RSL Club branch. The tree had been planted by Joe's father. This memorial was commissioned and dedicated to Joe by the then RSL President Laurie Maloney and the Shire President, Councillor Milson. Lieutenant Maury Pearce, Joe's platoon commander and later promoted to Lieutenant Colonel, recalled the night before the main attack commenced, having Gladys Moncrief perform for the troops. He said, "It was a magic night, deadly, quiet and calm. You can hear a pin drop. She sang in the open with a piano accompaniment. It was almost like Mum saying, "Look after yourself." This was the closest we would be to home for a long time. Lieutenant Pearce wrote to Joe's widow Pam, and I will close with his words. "Believe me, I would have written sooner, but unfortunately I have been in hospital and it was not possible. In passing on very sincere condolences from myself and the rest of the platoon, I can say how we mourn with you for the loss of a very fine soldier, a gallant gentleman. As for the circumstances of his death, I could say very little. The platoon was holding a vital piece of ground for the protection of the brigade and to enable the whole front to advance. During our occupation, we were bombarded by sustained artillery fire on 3 days, and it was during such a period that Alan was killed. I can only say he died immediately and suffered no pain, which is something all soldiers hope for. Alan was a very efficient man and a potential leader who enjoyed the popularity of all his friends. He fought well, lived honestly, and died the bravest of deaths. I can only wish that the remainder of the platoon were made of fine such stuff. I will say no more, Mrs. Hutton, as I know how deep your grief is. Please take consolation in the love of your relatives and the glorious gift of a child which will soon be yours. We all hope and pray that your child may be as fine a person as his father. Please write and let me know if there is anything I can do for you, as the platoon is with you all the way. Lest we forget.
Can I ask Glennis to jump on and unveil the plaque, please? Tony, would you like to lay the wreath on behalf of the RSL, please? If you have flowers or wreaths, if you'd like to come forward and lay those, please. If any family members or anyone would like, or friends would like to come forward and lay a poppy on you, please feel free to do so. If any family members wanted to say anything further, Glennis, would you like to?
Yes, I
yes,
would.
please.
Thank you.
Yes. Don't get too close to you. Just
No,
don't need
no,
water.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank
I wasn't really prepared for this and have only just made some notes on the back of a piece of paper. But I wanted to talk to you about the Forgotten War. The Queensland RSL put on their own notice for today's service details about the conflict and the numbers, and they also spoke of the 40 who remain missing, so no closure for those families. But they said that these efforts went largely unnoticed in Australia, however, causing added suffering for many who served in a so-called forgotten war. Very few people know about the Korean War and how brutal it was. It was a bitter conflict. Temperatures could be 40 below zero. People froze to death. Soldiers were not equipped. Their clothing was just not adequate for the conflict. Pam was 2 days beyond her 19th birthday when she and Joe married, and Joe was only just 22. The vicar of St John's received the telegram, and he took the news to my Nana and Pop's house just up the road in Hill Street and broke the news to them. At the memorial service at St John's on the 14th, at the end of the service, the vicar went to the honour roll, which I've only seen photographs of it, but it's absolutely massive, in St John's. He asked the congregation to face towards the honour roll, and Miss Mulvane played the hymn O Valiant Sons, and she may well have been a sister of Vic Mulvane, whose quarry Joe Stone came from. He concluded with the ode, and the congregation twice repeated the words, "We will remember them." He said, if Alan could speak, he would say, "I plainly saw my mission in front of me. I only did my duty to the best of my ability." Reared in a humble home and in the loving hearts of his parents, he was strong and vigorous in body, kind and lovable in soul, ready to play his part as a worthy citizen of Australia. And we all love him. Thank you. Yes, we forget.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. We're going down to the sun, and in the morning, we will get that again. Let's forget. We don't have any music, but I'm sure we can do this a cappella, I think. So if you all want to sing the Australian national anthem, I want to join. Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. With golden soil and Melbourne's blood, our home is girt by sea. And the boundary nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. History's lanes, every state, our lands Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing, advance Australia fair. Not bad. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to the family for coming and making this such a special day.